Time to start shaping the neck. I decided to use the facet method to do this. And what that means, as you can see that all the lines that I've drawn in here, they're tapered lines running from the top of the neck to the heel. I also marked a line on the front side, if you will. You may notice that I have no fretboard attached yet, and the sole reason is if I make a mistake, I can always make a new neck. However, I do not have any more of the Coca-Cola to make a new fretboard. So I'm going to shape the neck into what I hope is a pleasing shape and feel. And then I'm going to attach the fretboard. I'll probably use my vacuum pack again to get a tight bond on that. But yeah, we're going to start using a Shinto rasp here, which is a pretty coarse rasp. And we're going to start contouring out these angles, and hopefully this will all blend together. So, without further ado, so on and so on. So I'll continue that all the way down the length, both sides, and join everything up and continue on from there. I'll spare you another hour of rasping, but I'll show you as we go along what things look like there. All right, we got the first two facets cut in on either side. So next what I'm going to do is work in a little bit of the neck and a little bit of the heel there, just to clean up the transition there. It's a little rough. So I'm going to switch to a smaller file, probably this one. It isn't as aggressive as the other rasp that I'm using, but we'll knock that out, and then I'll come back, and then I'm going to taper in the next facet that goes all the way through here on top, and then we'll round that whole thing over, and we should have a neck profile at that point, which is kind of exciting. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the simple card scraper. It definitely is excelling with this. So I finished all the rough in with the rasp, and now I'm just kind of cleaning up what's left. And you can work right into the corners. And it leaves almost a surface-ready texture when you're done. So yeah, big fan of the card scraper for stuff like this. It's just awesome. So one of the moments of truth now. I have the truss rod in place. I have a piece of tape on there so that I can spread glue on the face here and not get it on the truss rod. And then we have to put the fretboard on, clamp that down, and apply enough lateral pressure on it so that it bonds to the neck. So I think what I'm going to do, a friend of mine had a really good idea. I'm going to use a little bit of crazy glue. So I'm going to put wood glue on the whole thing, and then in just a couple of spots. I'm going to do 3 spots. I'm going to add a little bit of crazy glue on there, and that will allow me to get a bond onto the fretboard, onto the neck, and then that will allow me to tape it down solid. And then I'm going to put it in the little vacuum bag that I used for the base. And hopefully that all works. Once that's done, then we can put the frets in the fretboard and kind of move on from there. All right, that is the guitar neck in the vacuum bag. I've vacuumed all the air out. What you can see, that black stuff there, is just the breather mesh to allow the air to escape around it. So I taped all that down, taped the fretboard onto the neck, waited for the CA glue to dry a little bit, slid it in the bag, sucked all the air out. So now we have several hundred pounds of pressure on there, holding the fretboard down. So we'll let the glue dry for several hours there, and I'll check it periodically just to make sure that my vacuum's holding. It's the only negative about this handheld style thing. So a little pump that goes in there and you pull all the air out, but there's no gauge to really show how much pressure, negative pressure, that you've got in there, nor is there any way to tell that it's leaking at all. So if you've got a tiny slow leak, there's no way to check it. So yeah, you have to periodically come out and just make sure that everything looks good. So yeah, let's see how that turns out. Time to start putting some frets in. So obviously I've never done this before, but what I found that seems to be working quite well is if I take the fret, put my radiusing board on there, and then line it up and clamp it down, and that seems to drive that fret right home just quite nicely. I do have a hammer as well. I could have pounded these in, but since I want them to match the radius, they're already pre-radiused, but not exactly for this. I thought I would use the radiusing tool. Yeah, it seats them home really nicely, so then I'll obviously clip all those off, and we'll move on to the next part. But yeah, this seems to be working quite well. Yeah, I like the looks of that. We will keep going down the line. So what we're doing is, it's called fret leveling, which I've never done because I've never built a guitar before. So what I did is I taped up the board here. That's what all the green stuff is. Went over it with a Sharpie so that I could see any high or low spots on the whole thing. And just from looking at it before I taped everything up, everything looked pretty flat as far as I could tell. And now, after marking everything with a Sharpie and going over it with the leveling board, everything looks pretty good. I see a shiny surface all the way down. So I don't think I need to go much further. I actually went to a really light sandpaper just to see what would happen, because I didn't want to scar everything up and then give me fits trying to polish all the frets again. So that looks pretty good. Now what I have to do is I have to just check everything with the fret file, and then I have to round over all the edges, which I'll do a shot of what that looks like here in a moment. Now we have to dress the fret ends. We have to pull the tape off to do this. Feels not too bad. Can't see if I'm getting right into the corners though. Like I said, I might have to take the tape off. This little file that I'm using has two sides to it. One side is flat and the other is round. So the round side you put down, and then as you can see I'm rolling the file over to round out the fret end. So I go in with the flat side first, just take that corner off, and then I go to the round side and roll that over. And then I do that, was it 44 more times? Yeah, fun.